Hey, this is Cody, and today I'd like to go over the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max issues that I've had. Specifically, I've only really had one main issue, and that's connecting and setting up the Klipper software in the printer. The reason I've had issues with it is because the instructions online were not as clear as I wish they would have been. Basically what happened was I plugged in the 3D printer and I set it to print things, and it did really well on the first print from the video that you may have seen from my unboxing with the Buddha statue. But anytime I tried to print something that was over 4 hours or more, it would stop in the middle of the print. And I'll show you a couple of videos here. I actually attempted to print the Tesla Cybertruck a couple of times, and it was an older file, so it's not exact dimensions or anything, but you'll see in the video here that it goes through and it prints them, but it doesn't necessarily get all the way through. And the issue that was coming up was MCU shutdown, timer too close, and obviously being a novice at this, I wasn't really sure what that meant. So I did some digging on the Elegoo website, and Elegoo's website wasn't necessarily as helpful to me. Not that they didn't have directions to figure things out on there, but the directions themselves were just a little bit confusing to figure out. So luckily, over the last couple of weeks, they've updated their directions, and I was able to figure out how to fix this issue, specifically the MCU shutdown timer too close warning. The answer to this is you have to basically just download the software to update the system in order to fix it. This is an issue with the Klipper software, and essentially, if you upgrade the software, it fixes the problem. And that's how it was fixed for me. Now, I can't promise that every situation is going to be solved like this, but the software updating helped a lot. So I'll show you the steps that I did, but I'm not going to go through the entire sheet or the entire process just because it's a little in-depth, but the directions spell it out a lot better now compared to when I was first looking at them. I first checked it back in like November, at the end of November, and they just recently updated it like December 15th. So you'll be able to see it, and I'll put a link in the description for the directions on my specific printer for the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. But I believe it's going to be pretty comparable for the Elegoo Neptune 3 as well, and the Max versions and the Pro versions of those too. So otherwise, they have in-depth directions, I think, for each of them specifically. So they're pretty good about that.
All right, and I also wanted to advise you guys that if you can't solve your issue on your own, you can contact Elegoo themselves. And the way to do that is you just have to email them at 3dp@elegoo.com. What they're going to do is essentially ask you to provide your purchasing information, like your proof of purchase, like whether it's a receipt or some kind of screenshot, and then they're probably also going to ask you for your serial number from your machine as well. I think it's just to prove that you are an actual customer. After that, then they might ask you also to print your Clippy log, which is part of your Klipper code, as well as this thing called Moonraker, which is another kind of code that is what your machine uses. Now, specifically talking about the Elegoo Neptune series machines, I believe. This actually might even be for only the Neptune 4s because they have the internet capability here. But you'll want to make sure that your Neptune 4 is connected to Wi-Fi on the printer itself. And then you'll go into your settings and you'll go to About Machine. And from there, it'll show you the IP, which is the address you're going to want to put into your search bar at the top of your web page. And that will get you to your actual Fluid program here. This is basically just like a nice little program you can use to print things from your computer or print from I believe you can print from your phone, which I'll be doing, and it'll give you progress and updates and layers and view of how to look at everything. But once you're here, you can go to your system, and from here, any jobs that you've put in through the computer, you can actually download your Clippy and Moonraker logs here, and you'll be able to take those and save them to your folders and send those to Elegoo specifically, and they'll be able to take a look at the exact reason why you're having issues with your 3D printer and maybe help you troubleshoot from there. So if you need any other assistance, I would contact them. Otherwise, doing the software update, from what I've been told, is able to fix a majority of the issues on the Elegoo systems. All right, so what you're going to want to do is first off go to Elegoo's website, elegoo.com, and then you're going to go to support. After that, you'll go to troubleshooting and firmware, software, and tutorials. Now, this is nice because they do have a couple of different videos you can use to help with bed leveling and things. Now, what you're going to click on here is 3D printing related products, firmware. That's what we're looking for, firmware and software. Now, I'm going to go to the Neptune 4 Max because that's the software that I need. And we're going to go to the latest firmware. Now, if you look at this, this was updated on 12/25, so it's actually might even be a newer version to what I've already downloaded that fixed my issue. But we're going to go ahead and click on the English version because we want to make sure that we can read everything as well. And then if you click on this, it's going to download this. Now, it's going to take a while to download, but once it's downloaded here, I can show you guys what exactly you need to go to in order to fix everything. Okay, so once that file is downloaded, you will see this come up here in part of the folder. And I'll show you what your folder looks like is this. You'll essentially have all these different folders here that you'll put onto your flash drive. But before you do that, they have these PDFs that'll show you how to update the firmware. There's like firmware repair pack and firmware update and all that. This is for the Neptune 4 Max, so I went ahead and clicked on that. And so now we've got this set up here. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that your touch screen is up to date. Again, this is directions for Neptune 4 Max, so it might be different on your machine, but I'm just going off of this. So I'm not going to go through every step, but I just wanted to give you the general idea. These directions are very simple to follow, and so you just have to go in and update your touchscreen firmware, and then after that, you'll update your settings in your software. And the reason I felt like it was a lot easier than what it may sound like is because when you actually update your settings on the software, the folder itself will actually spit back out a programmed like note that says that there's been a successful download. Like, see, it says fix Klipper successed will be displayed there after you've done it versus before. And the same thing with the update to your software for your touchscreen too. So I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you can see here that there's a ton of different resources to be able to explain all of the ways to do this. So this is a lot better instructions than what they used to have on the website like a couple weeks ago. So definitely just follow this and you'll be able to get everything updated.
From there, the printer seems to work no problem. And in fact, once I was able to figure out the reason for it not working, it actually was able to print past 4 hours on another print. And I actually had a little bit of filament left over. What I ended up doing was I took all of the leftover filament I had and created this skull bowl type thing that I could actually keep stuff in. I haven't really had a use for it, but you can see it over here. It's basically just a bowl with different colors in it because these are the leftover things that I was able to use for my 3D print. I think it printed very well. The bottom was for some reason not connected to the plate specifically in the file, and I just didn't end up fixing it, but it seems like it printed fine. And it looks really cool. I'll put a link in the description for the file that I used on this as well, but I thought it was really cool. And here's the Cybertruck that I made as well. I had to do it in 3 different sections here. So, whoop, there go the wheels. So you'll see here that it's in 3 different sections. You've got the top half and then the middle. The reason, again, why I had to do it that way was because there was issues with the printer printing past 4 hours. So what I ended up doing is I went into Tinkercad, which is what I use to cut pieces apart that I need to manipulate and print differently. Luckily, I was able to cut it in such a way that allowed it to print in those pieces in 4-hour increments. So I got it to work to a degree, and I might finish that and like glue it up and maybe spray paint it, but I'd like to eventually print out a better version of the Cybertruck at some point just because I think it looks cool. But if you want me to finish that Cybertruck, let me know in the comments. You can like or subscribe obviously to see more content with this, but let me know in the comments if you want to see me do up that Cybertruck all the way, or if you think I should just print a whole new one. I think it might be easier to print a whole new one, but it might be a nice challenge to try and get it looking really nice, even with it being split up into 3 different parts. The next thing on the docket is, now that my printer is fully capable of printing anything at this point, at least fingers crossed, knock on wood, right? I'm trying to see about creating a bunch of other things that are a lot bigger because of the build plate. I want to utilize the volume of the build plate because it's so big. So what I'm thinking of doing is, I mentioned before that I'd like to make the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy, because I just think that that sword is one of the coolest looking weapons that you can make. But I also want to make other stuff, maybe get into stuff like God of War Chaos Blades or the Olympus Blade. I think that's what it's called. I am super excited about the printer, and I'm going to be posting more videos with it. I hope you guys enjoy the content on that, and if you'd like to see other things for me to print on this, I'm more than happy to do so. If you'd like me to start printing things and making series about printing things, I certainly am open to doing that and trying my best to fill out content for that as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Again, my name's Cody, and I appreciate you clicking on this and taking a look at my stuff. If you're interested in more content like this, just like this video and subscribe to my channel and be on the lookout for more. Thanks so much and have a great day.